हेलो।
हाय सर। गुड इवनिंग।
गुड इवनिंग। मेरी आवाज क्लियर आ रहा है?
हाँ, आ रहा है अभी।
ओके। सो आपने वो आपका सर्टिफिकेट कैसे करेंगे, लिए बाद में या बाद में आएंगे?
बाद में आऊँगा तभी लूँगा।
अच्छा।
मतलब एग्जाम, मतलब उसका एग्जाम पे आऊँगा तो ले सकता हूँ ना।
हाँ हाँ हाँ।
कि
सही है।
कुछ अलग गाइडलाइंस है उसकी।
हम्म।
हेलो। हेलो।
हाँ हाँ, मेरा स्क्रीन दिखा अभी?
हाँ, दिखा तो दिखा।
Okay. So today we will discuss about this unit 2, that is ecosystem, that is structure function of ecosystem, energy flow, food chain, etc.
ये क्या
So
बोल रहा था सर?
ecosystem and ecology, these are the one major aspect of environmental science that includes all living organisms and non-living things, that is biotic as well as abiotic things combinedly to form the ecosystem, that is system which is consisting of both living parts as well as non-living parts. So the meaning of ecology is given by German biologist Ernest Haeckel, that is 1890 1869, and this word that derives ecos, that means house or habitat, and logy means study, that means study of the house or habitat, study of the particular type of organism, that is called ecology. What is habitat? Habitat is the place where a particular organism lives. That may be a bacteria, or that may be a bird, or that may be a animal, anything. So this idea that by of study of this particular area or surrounding where the organism lives, this is called ecology. And the definition is the study of interaction between the organism or group of organism, that is called as community or a group of species which with their environment. Environment means surrounding, which is both living, non-living, all things present, that is called, that is called both biotic and abiotic component. This is the definition of ecology. So
हेलो।
ecology is the study or interaction between both living and non-living. So the non-living components consisting of this thing, that is light, water, wind. These are already we have studied in our previous BSc classes. So just remind it: light, water, wind, nutrient, soil, heat, solar radiation, atmosphere, soil, air, all these things. So these things having a great impact on the organisms or any living organism, because all the things or the parameters are very much crucial for a particular type of organism. For example, we are cannot live in high heat or high temperature, but some organisms are near, or some microbes, they are also living in that condition. So for other means different organisms, the condition is different. We are not going in details what are the parameters. And the living organism or living components, the biotic components includes plants, animals, and microorganisms, all living things that is present in the earth. So we're going to study what are the relation and how this ecosystem that impact to the group of species, or the species livelihoods. So uh, next is called ecosystem, and the ecosystem term is proposed by the A.G. Tensley, 1935. Just remember these two names: ecology, who coined the term ecology, and who coined the term ecosystem, and what is the difference between ecology and ecosystem. And the ecosystem consisting of biological community occurs in the locality, and the physical and chemical factors which are consisting of the non-living environment. For example, a ecosystem consisting of the pond, desert, forest, estuary, and ocean. These are completely different ecosystem. So all different type of ecosystem having different is non-living parameters and living parameters. The living organism and the physical and chemical parameter or environment that are in desert, that is completely different from in polar region, or in a pond ecosystem, or in a water ecosystem, or in a forest ecosystem. The species found are different as compared to the other ecosystem. So every ecosystem having its different types of its significance. What are the significance we are going to study in details. So the definition: a group of organisms interacting themselves with the environment is called ecosystem. Here the water, air, the nutrient and the other organisms that are going to be impact on the particular species, that study is a study of the ecosystem. So those interaction between these uh, organisms as well is outer surrounding in comparing to the all on living and non-living things, which completes it itself from death to birth to death. The organisms or the species, how, what is the way, what is the life cycle, how we can be interacting with other things, that complete study is the called study of ecosystem. System, that means it completes within itself, nothing is required from outside, that is all a system. And ecosystem means that is having life in it, or that life is completely sustained with this living and non-living things. And ecosystem is the basic functional unit of ecology. That's why ecology functional unit is ecosystem. The functional unit, that means the organism which is complete itself with this surrounding ecosystem. So everything is complete within that is called ecosystem. For example, here animal cannot sorry, ecology is the study of the ecosystem. Obviously there are different type of ecosystem. For example, animals cannot synthesize their food directly but depend on the plants either directly or indirectly. We are living without any plants, that is impossible. Without any solar energy, without water, air, that is impossible. So directly indirectly we are depending on other species. So what type of depending, how its interaction, that thing is going to be completely studied in the ecology. See, this is on simple ecology. Here sorry, ecosystem, it completes. Here it is consisting of water, soil, live other species, on non-living things, rock, etc., air, water, all the things. This complete system is consisting one ecosystem. Then come to the structure of ecosystem. Structure means what is the appearance, how a ecosystem can be looks like, what are the different parts, how it is consisting, what is the main consisting body of the ecosystem. So this structure is mainly having two components, obviously, that is biotic as well as abiotic. Biotic mean living, abiotic mean non-living components. And the living members are plants, animals, microorganisms, and non-living members are obviously soil, air, water, etc. Then the biotic component, that living component or the living species which are interact with the particular species in a ecosystem. So they are again different, categorized in different types. Basically, there are three categories broadly classified total living component. First is called producers, who convert solar energy to useful energy that can be consumed by the other species. That's why it is called as producers. And these are nothing but the green plants and the species which contains only chlorophyll, that has ability to transfer the solar energy and nutrient to convert the glucose or the consumable energy for the others. So that's why these are called as producers. Then second category are consumers, who do not have capacity to synthesize food, but it depends on these other producers or depend on the green plants or other things for their food, that are called consumers. That means who consume everything, that is called consumers, and all animals are belongs to this category. Third category is called decomposers, and all microorganisms which are belongs to the decomposer category, because after dead or after death of a certain animals or plants, it is again degrade into its pure nutrient form by this decomposer. Without the decomposer, the ecosystem cannot be completed or the cyclic process cannot be completed. So this is the very much crucial. Producers and consumers, that are okay, but the decomposers, that are very much essential because they can complete the whole cycle. So these are the three major components of this ecosystem. Then let's discuss about the uh, details. What is producer? What is the category? So producers are always said as autotrophs. What is autotrophs? Trophs. Trophs means synthesis or which can be directly produce food. Autotroph means they are automatically synthesis their food through photosynthesis process with the help of the nutrient and the solar light or sunlight with the chlorophyll pigment by the chlorophyll pigment or green pigment, and that process is called photosynthesis. And the photosynthesis process uh, is done by all green plants and tree which having chlorophyll pigment. So what is the details about photosynthesis? The green pigment called chlorophyll, they present in leaves of the plant, they convert the solar light, convert the CO2 and H2, that is carbon dioxide and water, to a glucose molecule, or that is called as carbohydrate, and releases oxygen molecule. So remember this equation, that is the mainly very much crucial part of the photosynthesis, that consume carbon dioxide and releases oxygen as well as releases carbohydrates, and these carbohydrates are a glucose, fructose, etc. molecule, and these molecules are stored in leaves or fruits or roots everywhere in the plants, and that can be used as a food and that can be consumed by the consumer. So this is the photosynthesis process. So here solar light is come, photochlorophyll is the main platform where that can be convert this so carbon dioxide and water, and due to the help of chlorophyll and produce the oxygen molecule as well as this sugar. It is called carbohydrate or sugar or called polysaccharide or saccharide, that means directly called sugar. So here sun energy and chlorophyll are must be necessary to produce this food. So these are the different species, all tree, grasses, algae, with any species that contains chlorophyll pigment or green pigment, they can be synthesized this or take part of the process of photosynthesis. Second are called as consumers, and these are called as heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are those species that depends on the consumer, autotrophs. So hetero means it depends on any other things. So this is called heterotrophs. Again, the consumers are classified into different categories. First is called primary consumers, or otherwise it is called as herbivores. This is important. Herbivores or primary consumer. Primary consumer means who directly eat plant, or that is called as plant eater. Directly nothing eat besides the green plant, or they can only eat green plant and depends on this green plant directly. These are called as herbivores. For example, all the goat, all the cow, deer, insects, rat, everything they are directly depends on the plants or plant eater. So these are called as herbivore or primary consumer. Then come to secondary consumer. So secondary consumers are called primary carnivores. Carnivores, that means who eat meat, that is called meat eater. They are maybe dependent on this green plant, as well as they are dependent on the consumers of the primary consumers, or they are called meat eater. So secondary consumers are primary carnivores. Important, it is primary carnivores or secondary consumers depend on the herbivores. For example, frog, cat, snake, small birds, etc. They are does not depend directly on the plant species. Then again, third category called tertiary consumers or secondary carnivore. These are also a meat eater and who eat the secondary consumers are called tertiary consumers, or secondary carnivores eat primary carnivores. And for example, hawk, eagle, tiger, lion, etc. They are called tertiary consumers. See, this is a simple food chain. This is green plant that is called producers eat by these primary consumers, that is caterpillar, and the caterpillar is eaten by the secondary consumer, that is small birds, and the small bird eaten by the hawk, or this is called tertiary consumer. This is the way where how this energy can be transferred, or the glucose molecule can be transferred from one phase to another type of species. There are different species are there. Somehow these are called omnivores. That means which can directly consume both plant and meat. We are does not depend in one thing, that are called omnivores. For example, human, rat, birds, they can eat uh, both primary consumers as well as these secondary consumers, or that depends does not depend on one thing, that is called omnivores. They are both meat eater and herb eater. Next thing is called detrivore. Detrivore are the organism, or that is also called as decomposer or microorganism. They only depend on dead organism. They do not attack any living things. If something are dead, then they are going to eat that thing. And this is called the uh, cleaner of the environment, or waste cleaner. That means they can be decompose the dead living things into again its nutrients and pigments, or that are example are called termites, earthworm, ants, etc. All the things, or the microbes. So decomposers are also attack the dead body and the producers directly, and they can decompose into small compound and decompose organic nutrient, and this is called as the last part of the food processes or food chain. Then come to non-living part. Sorry, non-living part is called abiotic thing, and abiotic things that are having both component, that is called physical as well as chemical component. What are the physical chemical component? Climate, soil, water, energy, etc. Both are these are non-living components, and the physical component consists of air, water, soil, sunlight, which includes energy, climate, nutrient, living space, and biological community that very much essential. That means physically, that is called physical components. The chemical components includes the different elements or nutrient which are very much necessary, or for the growth of these, or for these living things. For example, organic substance consists of protein, lipid, hydrocarbon, etc. And inorganic substance which are aluminum, cobalt, zinc, phosphorus, hydrogen, carbon, all element things. These are called chemical components. Both physical and chemical component are necessary for the growth and sustain of the living things with the help of this component, abiotic component. So these are the structures of the ecosystem that are present. It very much necessary for sustaining our ecosystem. Okay, then come to what are the different types of ecosystem. Types of ecosystem are the natural ecosystem, and also it is classified as artificial ecosystem. All everything present in the earth that is occurs naturally, that are called natural ecosystem. But the ecosystem that are developed by human in a particular control way, that is called artificial ecosystem. Natural ecosystem consisting of all forest, grassland, pond, etc. Or artificial ecosystem consists of the aquarium and the greenhouse, etc. These are called artificial ecosystem. So this natural ecosystem again divided into two parts, that is called terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial as is defined, it is located on the land only. Example, grassland, forest, desert, etc. These are called terrestrial, which is mostly depend on the land. And obviously aquatic ecosystem are related to the water only. The aquatic ecosystem again two types: freshwater ecosystem and marine ecosystem. Freshwater ecosystem, that means it is a living present, that ecosystem is present in freshwater only. And again freshwater is divided into two types: running water and standing water. Standing water means pond, lake, the water does not flow. And running water means river, streams, all these things, springs, where the water already flows in a particular direction. So these different types of ecosystem having different components. Again, marine ecosystem, that is where or that is consisting only sea and seashore. That is called marine ecosystem or salty water ecosystem that we may call. And already discussed artificial ecosystem, that is man-made and itself, etc. These all are the structure of consisting the structure of ecosystem. So this structure ecosystem is very much necessary to know what are the components present, which things are essential for a particular ecosystem. For example, for a grassland ecosystem and for a pond ecosystem, the components are different. For example, grassland ecosystem, only grass is there. The species are frog, grasshopper, tiger, etc., deer that are present in grassland ecosystem. For in a pond ecosystem, the species are different. The for example, species are phytoplankton, small fishes, etc. So the structure also depend when the where the ecosystems is present. According to we can define different variables of the ecosystem. Then coming to the functions of ecosystem. Function of the ecosystem allow flow of energy and cycling of nutrient. Function means how the ecosystem run in a balanced way, how the nutrient recycles and the energy can flow from one level to another level in a different way. So this is called function of ecosystem, how the ecosystem can be functions in a good way. So there are three types of function. First is called primary function, and the primary function uh, ecosystem is manufacturer starch photosynthesis. That means the presence of the chlorophyll pigment and produces or who can convert solar energy into the sunlight in terms of sunlight to the glucose molecules or the food processes. This production of food or conversion of solar energy into useful energy or food energy by the autotrophs or green plants, this is the main function of ecosystem. Without food, no species can be live in ecosystem. So the production of food is the primary function. This is very much important. Without food or without conversion or without green plant, we cannot define any ecosystem. The green plant must be present in every ecosystem because it is the primary function to produce food. Then secondary function, what is the secondary function? Its secondary function is to distribute the food. Once food is prepared, then we are going to distribute the food among the different family member or different species along with the ecosystem. Not single species is use all the food, so other species may die. So the food or the nature are made in a such a way that the food prepared by these autotrophs are evenly or very much wisely distributed different members of the ecosystem. So all the members of the ecosystem, all the species, they can live in a proper way. So distribution of food is the secondary function. Third function is called tertiary function, and this function says that all living system died at a particular stage and the dead system decompose to again its nutrient. That's called tertiary function. That means conversion of the food into its again nutrient part or decomposition part, that is also present in every ecosystem. If this decomposers or recycling is not happen in ecosystem, then what happen? The produce only when we are going to produce and that does not decompose or does not utilize, then what happen? One stage comes where there is very much rich in nutrient and that may be overloaded. So everything that is excess, that is a burden to the ecosystem. So there must be a recycling of this ecosystem in order to functioning a smooth way for the ecosystem. So these are the primary, secondary, tertiary. In other words, production of food, second is distribution of food, and third is the recycling of nutrient by the decomposer. These are the main functions of the ecosystem. So let's come how these ecosystems are mainly behaves by the different types of the how energy flows, how the food can be transferred. So first thing is energy and material flow. So energy and material flow, there are two different things. One is called energy flow, one is called material flow. Energy is the thing that can be directly converted to solar energy or sunlight to the plant by autotrophs. And material flow is the nutrient part that can be absorbed by the green plant by the root, and that can be converted by photosynthesis and the glucose, and this can be transferred from one phase to another phase. So this energy flow and material flow, these are the two parts. And food chain, food web, food pyramid, we should discuss of these things. Energy flow, first thing is energy flow of the ecosystem. So energy is the most essential requirement of all living organism, and the sun is the source of energy for every ecosystem. That is, solar energy is the only source, no other source is among along by solar energy, because sun is the only source. And this sun energy transfer by autotrophs, transfer to chemical energy by the process of called photosynthesis only. And the amount of chemical energy used by the plants for their growth and remaining is transferred to the consumers. Some amount of food is utilized by itself the green plant, and excess amount of food is stored by the green plant, and that can be consumed by these different primary consumers. Thus energy enter in the ecosystem, and the solar energy indirectly enter in the primary consumers through the green plants. And there are different levels are there according to the feeding habit. The primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, and these levels are called trophic level 1, trophic level 2, trophic level 3. So this is the energy flow of this ecosystem or nutrient flow. And uh, first solar energy transfer by these producers, then it can be transferred the energy to consumers, then it can transfer the energy to decomposers. Again, after decomposition, the neutral after the decomposition, the nutrient organic pool, the nutrient are again separate, and what happen, it again distributed to the producer. The flow of energy in ecosystem flows in a loss of, that means always obviously everywhere the loss of thermodynamic works. So the loss of thermodynamic state that energy neither be created nor be destroyed. So whatever the energy received by the green plant, that can be transferred to the next consumers. Not 100%, only 10% is transferred, and 90% is released as heat. Here see, the heat is released, only 10% can transfer, and 90% is released by the person of heat. So this 10% is only transferred from those producers, and again here from the 10%, 90% released to heat, and again 10% transfer to this. So this is called 10% rule or transfer, 10% transfer of this energy. So energy of ecosystem is shown obviously. And the second law of thermodynamics said that energy is transfer, there is a loss of energy through the release of heat. That is called entropy, or that is loss of energy by the process of heat. So everywhere the energy, 90% of energy then be lost, only 10%
Hello,
is transferred. So efficiency of
hello,
this uh,
hello,
transfer of energy is only 10%.
hello.
And this 10% is sufficient for the all trophic level. See here the Venn diagram. Here is the transfer. Green plants are autotrophs that are eaten by the animals. Again heat is released. Again 10% is transfer. Here 10% is transfer. And then bacteria, they are decomposers that are again released 10%.
Hello,
Sorry, 90% are released, and these nitrate are again
hello,
recycled. So this
hello.
is unidirectional energy flow. So let's come to uh, food chain, and this food chain definition is the sequence of eating and being eaten by an ecosystem is known as food chain. That means one after another is called food chain. That is a sequence of eating. The green plant cannot be eaten directly by the tiger, but the energy must be reached to the tiger. So the green plants and tigers in between there is called deer, or that can be convert the green plant useful energy for the tiger. So these three systems are by link with the chain. If the one chain is break, the total ecosystem can be destroyed. So this is very much crucial part, that is called food chain, and the transfer of energy or food energy is transferred by the series or by the different parts of the food chain. A food chain always start with green life or green plant, because green plants are the only producers in the ecosystem. हेलो, बिल्कुल यार, अभी अभी एक मिनट। अच्छा, एक बार फिर से ज्वाइन कीजिए। हाँ, अभी आवाज आया?
हेलो।
हाँ, अभी सुनाई दिया?
हाँ, अभी सुनाई दिया।
अच्छा, बीच में कॉल आ गया था तो इसलिए डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया शायद।
ओके ओके।
ठीक है, तो फूड चेन और एनर्जी फ्लो, ये स्लाइड देखा था आपने? एनर्जी फ्लो 10%।
नहीं, ये नहीं देखा था। वो मटेरियल वाला देखा था, मटेरियल
मटेरियल एनर्जी फ्लो, उसके बाद पहले था ये वाला फंक्शंस ऑफ इकोसिस्टम।
हाँ, वो तो हो गया था, एनर्जी फ्लो शायद।
हाँ, ये देन फंक्शन ऑफ इकोसिस्टम में आता है पहले एनर्जी फ्लो, एंड दिस एनर्जी फ्लो इज transfer of the solar energy, which is only the source of the energy in a green plant, that can be transferred from one tropic level to different tropic level. This is called energy flow, or this energy flow is mainly consisting by this producers is the first form, then it can be transferred to consumer, then decomposer, and the nutrient cycle again recycling. And in this every step there is only 10% energy is transferred and 90% energy is released to the atmosphere, so total 100%. So this 10% energy is very sufficient to manage all the requirements of the next tropic level. And thus, according to the laws of thermodynamics, energy neither be created nor be destroyed, and it can be only converted from one form to another form. So the solar energy which are received by the green plant, they are stored in the green plant in different parts of the green plant, that is fruit, leaf, and stem, and that can be eaten by this primary consumer, and the energy is transferred, the solar energy is transferred by this by to the green plant eater or herbivore, and again the energy stored in the tissue of this uh, different animals, and again they can be transferred to the higher, that is tertiary consumers, who eaten the meat. The solar energy indirectly transferred through the green plant, through the meat of the tissue, and the to the lastly tertiary consumers. But in the process majority of the heat is lost, or majority of the our solar energy or majority of the energy is lost by the process of heat everywhere, because second law of thermodynamics tell that whenever there is energy transfer takes place from one level to another level, there must be loss of heat, because no engine or no thing is 100% efficient, and the loss of energy is in form of entropy, that is everywhere randomness increases, that means loss of energy obviously occurs. That's why only 10% energy transfer, 90% is lost to the atmosphere, and this 10% energy is called 10% transfer of rule of the energy transfer or energy flow, or 10% energy flow. So this is how energy flow you can be draw in exam. First sun energy, then convert transfer to the plants, then animals, then decomposers or bacteria, and every step there will be release of this energy as a heat in the form of heat, and here only 10% is transferred, 10% is transferred, and again after that the heat is dissipated and nutrient, only nutrient part is recycled to the green plant after decomposition of this dead part of the animals. So this is how energy flow can be takes place, or if there is questions occur, draw the 10% energy flow diagram, then just draw this diagram. Then coming to the food chain, because energy flow takes place from one trophic level to different trophic level by the medium of different species that are linked with one another, and that is called food chain. One species eaten by other and other species eaten by any another. So this is a particular chain is linked with one another, because green plant are eaten by this deer and deer are eaten by this tiger, not tiger are directly eaten by the green plant, eat by green plant. So if one chain is broke, the total ecosystem can be destroyed. If there is no herbivores, then no tigers. If there is no green plant, there is nothing else. So all the things are important, and every single piece of the chain is very much important for the trophic level, or that is called food chain. So this food chain always start with a green plant, that is producers or herbivore, and end with these decomposers or microorganism, that is this is how this chain can be propagates, and start with the green plants and ending with this bacteria. So every level 90% of the potential is lost at his, and only 10% is transferred. This is the example of a simple grassland food chain, that is grass is eaten by grasshopper, grasshopper eaten by mouse, and mouse eaten by the wolf. This is one way of energy transfer takes place. So can you say that which is more energy having other species? So among this grass having higher energy as compared to the mouse or this wool, because it can take directly solar energy, and 10% is directly transferred into the grass. And among the 10% again 0.001% is transfer, here 0.001% is transfer. So the whenever we are going from lower trophic level to higher trophic level, the energy level decreases. Energy level is decreases when going to trophic level, higher level. That's why the autotrophs which having directly eaten by the green plant are more uh, getting more energy than as compared to the others. So the trophic level, those are symbolized as T1, T2, T3, T4, etc. These are called trophic level 1, trophic level 2, etc. Trophic level 1, that is called as producers or green plants. Trophic level 2, that is called herbivores or primary consumers who eaten by those green plant. Then trophic level 3 is the carnivore who eaten by these primary consumers. Trophic level 4 are the tertiary. Trophic level 5 or the last is called the decomposers. So these are the patterns T1, T2, T3, T4, etc. So here we can say that this is T1, this is T2, this is T3, this is T4, and after that here that is T5 is there, that is called as a decomposer. So this is another example of food chain. Some solar light is transferred to the grass or green plants, then grasshopper, then snake, then eagle, then it is T1, T2, T3, T4, and lastly decomposer is T5. Again nutrient are recycled. This is a great example of a grassland food chain. Again, these food chains are classified into two types. One is called grazing food chain, one is detritus food chain. What is grazing food chain? Grazing food chain is found in grassland ecosystem, and this is the example of grazing food chain, because the tertiary levels or the levels different animals, they are grazing or they are collecting food and starting with green plants. This is called as grazing food chain, and it start with the primary producers or green plants and end with decomposer. This is called grazing food chain. And detritus food chain, that is also found in grass ecosystem, and start with dead organic matter. If something is dead, then it start with dead organic matter and go to decomposer. That is also or detritus food chain. Both most of the grazing food chain, you can give one example of the grazing food chain, which is this one: grass, grasshopper, snake, eagle, etc. The following diagram shows the grazing food chain and detritus food chains are interconnected because detritus food chain, this is the grazing food chain. Grazing food chain, that means it can be okay. This is producer, consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. This is grazing food chain, and detritus food chain is start with dead organic matter and bacteria, then nutrient. This is called. Then come to food web. Food web is the interlinking pattern of the various food chain, that is called food web. Interlinking means the food chain that are interlinked with one another, that is called food web. In the food web, many food chain are interconnected. Let's see the example. Grass may be eaten by the insect, rat and deer directly, and these are eaten by the carnivores, and that's why it is called interlinked food chain, that is called in food web. See, this one is the green plant are primary consumer. Green plant are autotrophs or producer. They are directly eaten by the mouse, so rabbit as well as the goat. The green plant is eaten by the three things. And first food chain is mouse is eaten by the owl, then it is snake, then also hawk, and then also lion. That is also one food chain. Rabbit, wildcat, lion, goat, jackal, lion. So there are among these are called food chain, and this rabbit is again interconnected to the jackal, and this is also interconnected to this all the things all. So this is interconnected food chain are called as food web. This is in the form of food web in a forest ecosystem. So this is one example of food web in a aquatic ecosystem. The green algae and winter weeds are directly eaten by the ponds and these crabs, all the things, flies, moths, and again it is this is one food chain. This is another food chain. This is another food chain, but these are interlinked with one another. That's why it is called food web. So difference between the food chain and food web is that food chain is linear, it only directly one direction, linear, but food web is interconnected. It is maybe non-linear. But one species get affected. If food chain is break, then whole species are affected. A food web is break, then that can be depend in other part. So food chain is the crucial part. So number of options available in the trophic level. So there are different types of different various kinds of food chain and food webs are present everywhere in the trophic level. So this is all about food chain and food web. Then what is the significance? How these food chain and food webs are very much important for our ecosystem. Without the food chain and food web, what happened? The food chain and food web are very important role because energy and nutrient flow along this food web. Energy cannot directly flow from green plant to the tertiary consumers, and it can only flow by step. The food chain is break, then total ecosystem may be break, and all living organism can be die. So maintaining of regulate of population size and trophic level also very much important. If there is no deer, then what happened? The total grassland, for example, in a grassland ecosystem, there is no deer present or no herbivore present. The total deer or total grassland, the number of grasses that can be overpopulated and their competitions occurs. For example, if there is no tiger or no lion in a grassland, then numbers of deers or the goats that maybe increases, and they are also very much difficult to survive because there are competition takes place. So in order to regulate the food chain, in order to regulate the ecosystem, the uh, trophic level play a very much important role for the maintaining balance of the ecosystem. And the property of biomagnification is also very much play important role for the ecosystem. What is biomagnification? Biomagnification is the process of trapping of some concentration within a increasing food chain. If some things that can be not discarded, that can be trapped in a food chain, and that successive way that can be increase the level of concentration in a particular food chain, that is called biomagnification. For example, we are using or you are spraying DDT as a pest killer, then the DDT are consumed by this green plant, and the green plant who is the vegetables are eaten by this, or the green plant eaten by this the primary consumers, then they consume the DDT because lots of amount of in their lifespan. See how much green leaves can be consumed, but they are do not exceed the DDT. The DDT remain present whole life cycle of this green primary consumer, and who are eaten by the tertiary consumer are eaten by the primary consumer, and this can be accumulate more amount of DDT. So the DDT is mainly increases in a food chain along with the tertiary level. So this is called biomagnification. This is one example of biomagnification. That means the chemicals that are eaten by small plants, small fishes, the small fishes are eaten by the big fish, and the big fish eaten by the these big birds. So the chemicals or the magnifying is the present very much huge quantity in this tertiary consumers rather than these green leaves, because green leaves or small pieces having small quantity of this DDT or small quantity of the chemicals, and these are magnified in higher trophic level. This is called biomagnification. This is all about the structure and functions of ecosystem, and in your syllabus it is main unit 2. This is all about unit 2 first part, and it does not cover any particular ecosystem, that is grassland or pond ecosystem in details, it does not cover. So next class we will discuss different cycles, that is material cycle, the water cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen. Already you are already taught these things in your lower level, like BSc level or in level, but we are just discuss about these things. So
Okay,
trophic level, primary consumer, all these functions, structure, ecosystems, आपको मतलब इसमें कुछ डाउट है या कुछ आइडिया कुछ पूछना है आपको?
सर ये एक चीज थोड़ा मुझे पहला जो आपने वर्ड यूज किया ना, इकोलॉजी एंड इकोसिस्टम।
हाँ हाँ।
इकोसिस्टम में तो समझ में आ गया कि स्टडी ऑफ इकोसिस्टम इज इकोलॉजी।
हाँ
यही है ना, स्टडी ऑफ इकोसिस्टम को हम इकोलॉजी कहते हैं।
हाँ, इकोलॉजी इकोसिस्टम में क्या डिफरेंस है? इकोलॉजी, दिस इज इकोलॉजी, देखो इसका डेफिनेशन इकोलॉजी का है। इकोलॉजी इज द स्टडी ऑफ द इंटरेक्शन अमंग द ऑर्गेनिज्म और ग्रुप ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म, मींस जो लिविंग स्पेसीज है उसका साथ जो उसका एनवायरनमेंट का क्या इंटरेक्शन है, दैट इज इकोलॉजी। दैट मींस इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन द एनवायरनमेंट एंड द species, that is ecology. But ecosystem is something more than the ecology. Ecosystem is पहले तो इंटरेक्शन आएगा, ऑब्वियसली ये इंटरेक्शन है एनवायरनमेंट में सब है, लेकिन इकोलॉजी इकोसिस्टम इज अ सिस्टम दैट कंप्लीट विद इन इटसेल्फ। दैट मींस द फिजिकल पार्ट्स, केमिकल पार्ट्स, द एनर्जी फ्लो, उसमें स्ट्रक्चर, फंक्शन, ये सारे डिटेल्स आ जाता है उसमें इकोसिस्टम में। that is does not cover in ecology, but ecology ecosystem that are similar thing, तो थोड़ा थोड़ा।
ओके सर।
इकोसिस्टम में सब आ जाता है, नॉन लिविंग, लिविंग सारे आ जाते हैं। ये इकोसिस्टम कहाँ है? यस, इकोसिस्टम इज द बेसिक फंक्शनल यूनिट ऑफ इकोलॉजी। दैट मीन इकोलॉजी पढ़ने के लिए आपको इकोसिस्टम जानना जरूरी है। एंड द इकोसिस्टम का डेफिनेशन, इकोलॉजिकल इकोसिस्टम का डेफिनेशन क्या है? ऑर्गेनिज्म इंटरेक्टिंग देमसेल्फ विद द एनवायरनमेंट इज नोन एज इकोसिस्टम, व्हिच इज consisting of both बायोटिक, एबायोटिक एंड अदर थिंग्स, एनर्जी, फंक्शंस, जो भी सारी चीजें हैं सारे इसमें इकोलॉजी सॉरी इकोसिस्टम में आ गया है। सो दिस इज इकोलॉजी इकोसिस्टम, कुछ डिफरेंस ज्यादा है नहीं उसमें।
ओके ओके सर।
ये तो पहले आपने पढ़ा होगा ना थोड़ा बहुत?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल।
अब बस रिवाइज करना है, इसमें कुछ नहीं। और यूनिट 2 में जो है ये जो पार्ट कहाँ गया, यूनिट 2 बस वही है, यूनिट 2 में और कुछ नहीं है। और एक है इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन, ये वर्ड सुना है आपने, इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन? सक्सेशन
हाँ सुना है सर।
क्या होता है?
मतलब ये मेरे ख्याल से ये इकोलॉजी का जो पिरामिड है उससे रिलेटेड है कुछ।
ना, पिरामिड है नहीं इसमें आपका, पिरामिड में कोई रिलेशन नहीं है उसमें।
ओके।
ठीक है, उसको हम लोग देखेंगे नेक्स्ट क्लास में। इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन दैट मीन कोई बेरन लैंड हो गया, उससे नया इकोलॉजी कैसे, मतलब कैसे स्टार्ट होगा, वहां पे कैसे कॉलोनी बैठेगा, फिर उसको फिर कैसे डिस्ट्रॉय होता है, ये उसको इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन, डिफरेंट स्टेप ऑफ इकोलॉजी और डिफरेंट स्टेट ऑफ द इकोसिस्टम, हाउ इट चेंजेस इन डिफरेंट टाइम्स, उसका भी है कुछ,
ओके।
उसका यूनिट्स है, वो हम लोग देखेंगे इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन नेक्स्ट क्लास में। एक छोटा
अच्छा,
सा पार्ट
ओवर
है
द
वो।
टाइम कैसे चेंज
हम्म।
होता है वो, ओवर द टाइम कैसे चेंज होता है वो।
हाँ, ओवर ऑफ द टाइम उसका डिफरेंट स्टेज होता है, न्यूडेशन, सक्सेशन, फिर उसके बाद क्लाइमेक्स पे जाता है, याद आ रहा है?
यस यस,
ठीक
म्यूटेशन,
है, देख लेते हैं हम लोग
न्यूडेशन,
नेक्स्ट क्लास में उसको
कंपटीशन।
थोड़ा बहुत। यूनिट
ठीक है
टू
सर।
तो और एक दो क्लास में हो जाएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। ये उसके बाद पॉपुलेशन एथिक्स, हाँ ये इम्पोर्टेंट है, यूनिट थ्री, इसको नया चीज़ है ये पहले शायद थोड़ा बहुत चिपको मूवमेंट, साइलेंट वैली, ये सारी चीज़ें सुना हो आपने?
जी सर।
ठीक है, डिटेल्स में आते हैं उसमें।
ठीक है
चलिए
सर।
मैं इसको अपलोड कर देता हूँ।
ओके सर। ओके सर। ओके।
ओके, गुड नाइट।
थैंक यू सर, गुड नाइट, बाय सर, टेक, बाय।